If you actually speak to many people, they will tell you that female relationships are way more complex and also way more shallow. But I'd actually argue that because male friendships aren't exactly perfect as well. Because at the end of the day, regardless of gender, you are dealing with human beings that have emotions and sometimes childhood trauma. The real difference between male friendships and female friendships is really how we bond. Males tend to bond through shared activities and basically roasting each other, whereas females tend to bond by actually talking to each other and emotional disclosure. And what I've personally found in my own life is that you don't really know somebody, man or woman, until they've been tested. But the problem many people have, especially guys, is that they've never really stress tested friendships. So they might be in a situation where they think somebody is truly the friend, but they're really not. So what I'm going to do for you in this video is basically go over some dark truths about male friendships. And what you'll find is that a lot of these truths are quite negative. But the reason why I'm doing this video is because by understanding and seeing friendships, especially male friendships, for what they are, it'll help you navigate them much, much better. The truth is, a lot of guys don't really have friends. What they have is allies. And in comparison to female relationships, male friendships tend to dissolve faster when situations change. So, for example purposes, let's say you've got a guy and you consider him a solid friend, but now that guy then gets married. Don't be surprised if you start seeing that guy way less. Another example might be a guy whose financial situation has completely changed. So this could be a guy that's become rich or a guy that's lost everything and become poor. The dynamic changes, and sometimes this can cause problems. The dark truth about male friendships is that a lot of friendships are maintained for utility purposes. So you kind of have to be useful to the group. So this could be the guy who's able to make everybody laugh. In high school, it could be the guy that's just passed his driving test. So now he can drive his friends around. A lot of male friendships are maintained because of these kind of reasons. And all I can say here is that healthy relationships are mutual relationships. So don't be the guy that gives everything but doesn't get his own needs met. And this also applies to romantic relationships with women. Human beings are very competitive. And if you want proof of this, just study history and look at how many wars have been started. If you're somebody who's played sports all their life, you already know this. Human nature isn't always pretty. And what you'll tend to find is that we all quietly compete with one another, whether we like to admit it or not. And what we tend to compete on is how much money we make, access to women, and physical fitness. You could say these three things are all markers of status. And again, whether we like to admit it or not, human beings are hardwired to detect status. So let's say, for example purposes, in one of those three areas that I've just mentioned, that you outdo one of your friends. Don't be surprised if envy and jealousy turns up at the door. What you'll tend to find with people is that they genuinely want the best for you. I'm not that cynical and I do genuinely believe that. But here's what they don't want. They don't want you to overtake them. And again, it goes back to basically male competition. We are competitive. And if someone outdoes another person, If they've not done the deep personal development work and become comfortable in their own skin, this can sometimes cause massive problems. From a very, very early age, boys have essentially been conditioned to suppress their emotions. And in some social circles, this can be seen as a weakness. Expressing your vulnerability might not go down too well. So a lot of boys learn this very, very early on and they don't do it. And what you'll often tend to find is that this behavior then bleeds into adult life. So you could have a situation where two guys have essentially been friends for 15, 20, or even 25 years. So we're talking a long time here, but they don't really know anything about each other because they never talk about anything. Like I said earlier at the start of the video, boys, when they bond with each other, it's normally activity based. It's normally roasting each other. So you create a situation where you essentially don't know the other person. And research has been done on this by I think it was by the American Psychological Association. And what they basically found is that males that tend to have only male friends tend to feel more lonelier than males who have quote unquote girlfriends or mixed friends. And in the future, I'm actually going to do a video on the benefits of the female friend zone because if there is genuinely no sexual interest, meaning you don't want to sleep with her and she doesn't want to sleep with you, and you're both happy with that situation, that's the key word. The key words here, you're both happy, then there is nothing wrong with being friends with a woman. While Ride or Die might sound good on rap songs or even look good on social media, the truth is, in real life, it rarely happens. Most people's loyalty has limits, and loyalty normally shows up when number one, you lose everything. So this could be you becoming broke, depressed, losing all your money, divorce, etc. So basically, when you hit rock bottom, it also shows up when you become successful. So this could be someone making loads of money. This could be someone who's attained some physical fitness goal. You get the idea. It's at both ends of the extremes do you see who your real friends are. At rock bottom, people essentially disappear because it can be emotionally draining supporting somebody who's drowning. They themselves don't want to be pulled under. So you could say self preservation kicks in. At the opposite end of the spectrum, let's say somebody achieves a level of success, those around them can get envious and also jealous. So the point I want to get across here is that regardless whether you hit rock bottom or you achieve a level of success, the dynamic of the relationship changes. And friendships that once felt solid can then feel transactional. I don't think I've said this in any of my videos, but I'll say it in this video. And that is sometimes dating a highly attractive woman can sometimes be problematic. And the reason why is male sexual competition. Let's say, for example purposes, you've got a guy who throughout school was considered a bit of an ugly duckling. Didn't really get much attention from the girls, kind of blended in, wasn't very confident, and so on. But as an adult, he starts going to the gym, he changes, so he becomes physically fit. And as a result of this, he becomes a lot more confident. And women start to pick up on this, so he starts getting a lot more attention. Don't be surprised if the guys within your social circle notice this and start getting a little bit envious and jealous. And a lot of people don't talk about this, but amongst male friends, there is a sort of hierarchy that nobody really talks about, but people know it exists. And everybody kind of knows their place. Well, if you have somebody who moves up, so to speak, this can cause big problems.